Well met. Welcome to Screen King, Stephen King from page to screen. My name is Matt. Joining me as always is Stacy. Hello, Stacy.
Hello.
But today we're not alone. Today our Ka-tet gets a little bit bigger as we are joined by my co-host on Frame Rec over on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. In fact, he's the founder of the Dill Pickle Movie Network and one of the stars of the road trip comedy Band on the Run, Mr. Dylan Randazzo. Hello,
Hi,
Dylan.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Oh, we're so excited to have you on, especially for this one that we're talking about. But before we get into the one we're talking about, let's do the old favorite segment. This is the first time, which is Stephen King news. And really, it's just a quick little thing, but it did get me very excited, and that is that Patton Oswalt is doing narrating Other Worlds Than These for the which is the upcoming Stephen King book, the third in the Talisman series.
Nice,
which has me very, very excited.
Yes, that is exciting.
He's a great narrator. I've listened to books that he's narrated before, but also he's just a really cool dude, and so I'm excited to hear that. Stacy, what do you think about this news?
Oh, I mean, this is the first I'm hearing of this news, but it is pretty exciting. Yeah, no, I think he'll be a great narrator for that tone. If you are familiar with the Talisman or Black House, you kind of have an idea of what the tone of the book should be, and I think he'll be great for it.
I think he'll be great for it too. I'm very, very excited. Dylan, do you have an opinion on?
Well, this is a great way to introduce what my knowledge with books is, because I mean, this is very out of my element, right? I'm not the biggest reader. I'm all movies. I don't even watch TV very much, just because I don't really have the time to I'm very much I like to start something and end something in one sitting type guy. So that's great for a novella, which we'll talk about today. But I thought this was a real fun task, a real fun challenge to be you're going to be on a podcast that doesn't just talk about movies, but talks about books too. I was like, okay, cool, because my girlfriend's a big reader. Allie loves to read, and she's kind of gotten me more into reading the last year. So this kind of felt like the perfect time for you guys to hit me with this task. And then realizing that the novella was as short as it was like, oh, I can have the best of both worlds. I can read this book in one sitting.
It was one sitting.
Yeah, it's still going to take about 4 hours, but more than a regular feature-length film. But so I don't know many Stephen King books outside of the ones that have been adapted to film, and obviously I love Patton Oswalt, so I'm very excited about that. But yeah, this is just going to be a really fun treat, just because I'm finally becoming more of a reader just over the last year, and this is kind of my first kind of jump into Stephen King. I had already read this novella actually in high school, I think. But it was very much everyone had to pick up a book off the shelf and read it. I was like, well, I know this movie, so I'll read this book. It wasn't I wasn't approaching it from the literature angle of it. It was more so, oh, this is an assignment and I know this movie, so I'll read this book. Not realizing the actual breadth of Stephen King's work and how far it exceeded beyond the film. So and film in general, all his films. But this is a really cool thing you're doing, and it is a really cool treat to get to be here and talk about something that's not just movies, and kind of talk about movies in context of something else as well, which is something we don't even get even on other shows I do. We don't really sit down and read the screenplay. Sometimes we will, but and I know Matt, you're a big screenplay guy too, but it's we don't really talk about, oh, this was in the screenplay and this was in the movie, so it's going to be really cool to kind of just talk in comparison, which is a real treat. But no, long story short, I've not heard of that book, but I'm excited to hopefully dive into more Stephen King and watch along and read along with your show. I don't know how you read these books as quick as you do, but I'm hoping to be a better reader, and hopefully Screen King will help make others better readers like myself. So yeah.
That's actually the most common comment we get from people. They're like, do you guys read them between episodes? So it's yeah, it's you guys are fast. It's well,
yeah, and audiobooks help. What I realize is if you put it on if you have Spotify or something and you put on the audiobook and you put it at 2x speed, it goes by quicker because you're listening, you're still reading the words, but you're listening to them too, so you can actually keep up with the words for speed readers like me. So I actually helped to have the audiobook playing while I read it. I've never actually done that. I've usually done one or the other. It was kind of cool to sit down and read it while the audiobook was playing, because I also wanted to hear the voice, because it is from a perspective, it is a narration. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I do a combination. Some of them I've done audio, some of them I've read. I am a faster than average reader, I think. And most of these up until this one, I have read at least once sometime before, even if it was a very long time ago.
Right. So you're not absorbing any like new information.
Not really.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably fast when it comes to reading, but most of the time I'm listening to the audiobook while I'm working. So and I do it at 1.2 or 1.5 speed, so it does make it faster, but not like not like crazy, like gets changes the pacing. Or
we can still compute it too.
Well, I can say for one of our upcoming episodes, I've been listening to the book, but I'm probably going to read it too, just because it's one of my faves, and I get more out of reading it than I do out of listening. So
very nice.
Nice. Well, Dylan, I know that you haven't read a lot of Stephen King, but I do recommend if you decide you do want to read some more, and there aren't adaptations of these, so we're going to have to. So when we eventually cover these, it's probably just going to be in a one-off episode. But you should listen to the Talisman books. It's The Talisman is the first one, and then Black House, and then now Other Worlds and These is coming out in October. So,
cool.
Which we'll have a review. Oh, almost fell out of my chair. We'll have a review of Other Worlds and These when it does come out in October. But so let's get into this. We haven't mentioned the book that we are reading yet, but if you've clicked on this, you've seen what we're talking about. We are talking about the novella Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption, which up for 30 years. For 30 years that I've known about this novella, up until last week, I thought it was Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption. There is no "the" in the title of the novella. There is no "the" in the title of the novella, which is, here's the thing. I don't know if it's just me not being able to process this knowledge I've had for 30 years being wrong, or if the title actually is weirder without the, but it feels weird without the in the title.
I agree. I actually hadn't really looked at the title like that. And my brain always put a the there because it fit there.
Right. Exactly. And without it, it's two separate things. And that feels wrong.
It's almost like saying the redemption is Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. Like the redemption, you're redeeming Shawshank and Rita Hayworth in that sense.
Right. Exactly.
Which maybe this like gave her a resurgence in popularity. Who knows? You know.
We'll get to that in a moment, but it did a little bit. Not resurgence popularity. I'll just say it right here. When they did the casting call for the movie, a lot of people showed up, including some drag queens, to audition for the role of Rita Hayworth, which is not a role in the movie. Anyway, so let's just get into it. Let's talk about this novella. And as Dylan had said, you'd already read it in college.
I think it was in high school. It was my senior year of high school, because it was one of those like, you have to take a lit or an English class your senior year, and I took. I don't even know what the name of it was, but it was, there was a lot of like just free reading. And so it was like, okay, just pick up a book and just read for like an hour. We've already finished the assignment we had to do, so it was very casual. And I don't know if I had seen, I knew that it was a movie. I don't know if I had seen the movie when I picked it up. I'm pretty sure I had though, because I was like, oh yeah, okay, I know this. And I think I had seen the movie already. So I was just reading it because I was like, I know this story. It was almost kind of past time. It wasn't, and I feel like that gave it a disservice. Like I wish I had gone into it more of like, oh, this sounds great. Like I've never heard this, but Green Mile was another option I had, and I hadn't seen that movie yet. I probably should have gone with that, but it was just like, oh yeah, I need to pass the time. I've seen this movie before. This book is short. Like let me just, so yeah.
I've done that plenty of times in my life. In fact, the first time I remember specifically doing it was in the 6th grade. We had to read a book and do a report on it, a book report, obviously, but there was some specification. I don't remember what it was, but I went over to the high school, because where I went to school, the high school and grade school were right next to each other. I went over to the high school and got Jurassic Park, because I was like, I've seen this movie 1,000 times. And so let me tell you, that book's a lot harder when you're in the 6th grade to read, but I did read it in the 6th grade. Yeah. I've done that with other things too, where it's just like, I don't think I want to expend the effort of a new story.
Yeah, when I was in 8th grade, I was like 13 years old, and it was the year of like 2010, 2011. So the books I read that year were Social Reckoning, which is what The Social Network is based off of, or whatever, or The Accidental Billionaires, I think it's called. The Social Reckoning is the sequel that's coming out. It was the Moneyball book, and then it was what was the other one? It'll come to me. It's one of those 127 hours. The biography. Oh my god, I don't know how to speak about books. I was going to say biopic, but no, it's a biography. The book was the biography of Aaron Ralston. So it was like all the books I was reading were like these biographies that inspired Moneyball, Social Network, and 127 Hours. And my teacher was like, okay, interesting choice for an 8th grader, but those were the movies I knew at the time. So I was like, oh, cool, I know these stories. I just watched them, so very interesting.
Nice. But this was my first time reading Rita Hayworth and Shawshank Redemption. I knew about it because I saw this movie. I'm maybe not in 1994, but within a few years of that. Like I said, for 30 years, I've known about this novella, but I had never read it. And Stacy, this is a milestone for our show, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. This is the first one I haven't read before doing the show.
Nice.
It's crazy that it still has read it.
Right, that's not, and that is the only Stephen King book I have read. Is the funniest part of it. Yeah. So.
But yeah,
well, this is the right episode for you. I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're the.
I'll school you. Yeah. I
know. So let's get into it, and because this is such a well-known movie. And while there are some differences, the novella is very, very similar. There is going to be some bleeding between the two, and I think a lot of what we're going to have to talk about is going to revolve around the movie and their relation. But Dylan, let's start with you here. Was there anything specific when reading it this time that you felt surprised by, or that you didn't remember from the first time you read it?
Yeah, I think just the fact that the prison break itself. Sorry to spoil it if no one knows. Essentially it's about
spoilers on this show.
Right, it's about a prison break essentially. Like he's telling the story. Let me tell you this cool thing that happened about this cool guy that I knew. It's all focused on the prison break, and it's all building up to it. And I think what I realized most with the novella the second time around, which I'm treating like my first time around because I'm actually getting to like really absorb it and like not just pass it off as an assignment. But I really do think like it does foreshadow, maybe not foreshadow being the right word, but it really does kind of hint at like this thing happening. Whereas I think when I first saw the movie for the first time, it was such a shock. I was like, whoa, he escaped. Whereas this one, I feel like the seeds are planted very early, and maybe that's just because I know it's coming, maybe it's because I knew it was coming, all the little like, but I didn't know that this axe would be this, or, I dismissed it as this, I joked about it as this, but like, turns out, he almost kind of tells you what's going to happen without telling you it's going to happen early on, which I think could be a disservice, but I think because Stephen King is so descriptive in the way he describes the prison and the different episodic things that happen to all these, with all these events and over this long period of time, you almost kind of are able to distract yourself from the fact that like it's very much obvious that this is leading to this thing, which I guess could also, to be said about the movie too. When you watch the movie having just read the novella, you start to see those things too, but a little more subtly. Whereas this one, because it's also so short, it's like, oh shoot, we're already at the prison break, but like we've been talking about this hammer since the second page, so. Yeah, just like kind of the foreshadowing, kind of building, everything was building to that moment. It didn't feel like this chapter-esque thing, even though it is very chapter-esque, if that makes sense. Like it does have these little bits and little stories and side quests and different stories going on, but it really does feel like it's all building to this one escape and just, building to this grand finale in a way that the movie doesn't always feel like. It does feel very much like, we just want to like sit and absorb this lifestyle and these people and it just like, kind of sit in this for a second and then get to the crux of it,
It's interesting because you mentioned that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later with the movie, but the movie actually adds things that explain away some of those foreshadowing things, like the whole he said in the novella that he likes to work with gems or rocks, but it expanded that so much in the movie to show all the like things that he was doing with them that it almost made it it buried the escape even deeper. There comes a point when it's a point of saturation where the knowledge of the escape is inescapable. Everybody knows that he escapes at the end. The cover of the goddamn movie is him after he escaped.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah.
It's that becomes inescapable. But what I love about kind of both is the way that it buries the escape through the whole thing, because while yes, you are correct, there is a lot of foreshadowing. We've talked about on this show several times about how Stephen King is very bad at telling you what's about to happen and then going to tell you how it happened.
Right.
In other books,
much
this
more
one,
blatantly. This one it's
usually it's better. Just like you. Okay, for example, if this had been one of those ways that Stephen King writes sometimes, if it had been at the beginning of the book, he would have said, I met Andy, 30 years before he escaped, or something like that.
Right, and let me tell you how he did it.
Let me tell you. But it buries that, and yes, it does have those little foreshadowing things. So that actually was one of the more impressive things for me here, is that while I don't want to say it's a criticism, it is a thing that I notice about Stephen King is a lot of times he will tell you what happened before he tells you how it happened.
Because it's not about that. It's not. He doesn't want it to be just about the big shock value climax. It's like, how do we get there? What is the actual journey? Yeah,
it's a character study in my mind. It's all a character study of Andy and Red through Andy through Red, but also kind of Red, the bits he gives you of himself while telling the story, which I think is amazing to do in 100 pages. At least that's how long it was in my book, with big print and decent sized pages. Still only 100 pages. It's phenomenal to me that he did what he did in 100 pages.
Right. I absolutely agree. I will say that while the character stuff is really, really good in this, I think that Red sometimes can get lost in this story because he's telling it from his perspective, and Red is not the kind of person to tell you about himself so much. So Red does get lost in it, but I don't think that makes it worse at all. I think that is something that makes the movie that works really well in the movie, is that you get a lot more of Red, even though, in the book, it's all Red because he's telling it, but he's not telling it about himself. So I think that's really cool in the movie. But I do appreciate the manner in which the story in the book is told, that it's told from his perspective, and that's how he keeps it from being buried, because basically Red didn't know anything until it happened, and so I think that's really neat. Stacy, did you? Since this is your first time, was there anything in it that you found noteworthy or kind of interesting to talk about?
I mean, like I said, it's only 100 pages. I think this book illustrates two of the things that Stephen King does best, and one is using a storytelling perspective of somebody telling you a story. I think he's really great with that, and characters. To have a fully fleshed out story where you're not left really asking questions about how he got there and what happened after, and you feel like you've gotten to know these characters, or at least Andy, and he's a very fleshed out character, and 100 pages is just like, I can't get over that. Like, it's just so it's so impressive and amazing to me. But characters is what I think. I mean, that's what I love about him. That's what he really does best, is write characters. There was no big aha moments or anything. I had seen the movie, but only once, and it was a while ago. So that was almost a first watch too, to be honest.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I read the book first before I rewatched the movie. So a lot of it was pretty fresh, like story wise, even. I knew where it was going, obviously, and all of that stuff, but I don't remember your question.
Oh no, you basically answered it. Was there any big moments that were kind of a surprise to you? I will say this is the one thing when I was reading it that surprised me, and that is that because in the movie it doesn't tell you what Red did to get into prison. In the book, it does, and he tells you immediately.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to kill my wife and accidentally killed her, another woman, and a child, and I did it. And so it's interesting because I've seen this movie a lot of times, and so I always knew that Red was guilty because he said in the movie that he was guilty. But it kind of changes my perspective of him just a little bit when I realize that's what it is. But I think the movie also helps in that, because the book doesn't really go necessarily into this. Movie does help in that that he is a changed person by the end. And so actually in tandem, those things, like that was a big shock, but also like I know that he's not that person, and so I don't have any like negative feelings toward him at all for when it comes to that.
And along that line on Red too, it is a little interesting. Just I think this is more prevalent in the book, just because and the director is white for the film as well. But you have a white author writing from the perspective of a black man, and I do think the actual identity of being a black man in prison, where yes, you might be guilty for something, and they obviously state the crime in this sense, but there are a lot of black men who are wrongfully imprisoned because of crimes that are no longer crimes, like marijuana possession being an example or something like that. But I do wish there was a little bit more given to Red as a black man in a prison system, a little bit more of that perspective, because it is a lot of I'm this black man telling you about this white guy who did this amazing thing. And I get that's the whole point. It's Andy Dufresne's supposed to be almost this mythological, kind of magical guy, and that's kind of why it's kind of cool that it is from a different perspective talking about him. If you get it from Andy Dufresne's perspective, I think that takes away a lot of the mysticism of it.
I think we don't get very much at all from Andy Dufresne.
And it also that kind of falls in line with the Stephen King horror thing of everyone knows him as a horror author, and even in Shawshank you still find elements of horror because Andy is kind of this more not supernatural, but because he's being talked about in a other perspective, you're not getting that firsthand POV, so you really don't know what's going through his mind. You don't know if he's guilty. You don't know if he's innocent. There's this mystical kind of quality to him. But I do wish there was a little bit more agency given to Red as a character, especially, it's like the Tarantino thing of when Tarantino drops the N-word in his movies, it's kind of you wrote it, you didn't have to write that. And, when you have, Stephen King writing as a black man in the first person and using slurs and stuff, which obviously a character like Red would use, but having it come from a white author, it's did you even need to? And if you are, I wish there would have been a little bit more expanded to just not even give Red a story necessarily like he does in the movie and have this whole side plot, because again, this is a manuscript, so it's not like he's going through these events in real time and being well, while Andy's doing that, I'm going to go try to appeal again. It's not like that, but I do think it's one of those things where I would have liked a little bit more, just because, you have a black protagonist telling the story in a prison system where it's such a hot topic of conversation. I wish there was a little bit more given, and I think that's just what you get with the short runtime, book time, what do you call it? Length. Yeah. But I do think that's one thing I wish had been kind of developed upon further, and maybe it's just Stephen King knows he's not necessarily the right voice to voice that kind of perspective. But then again, it makes it a little bit more alienating in that sense,
So
go ahead.
Oh,
I was just I just had two little points. Number one, Stephen King is well known for not writing black characters very well. So it's
see, it's all these things I'm learning as a first-time reader. I'm okay, so I'm on the right page. I'm on the right page.
But we actually don't, in the book, we don't actually know Red's race. He does say he's Irish, which also happens in the movie. But I think it might be a joke because they don't actually say he's a black man. But I do appreciate your perspective there. If he is a black man, like half Irish or whatever, that is an really good point that you're making, because I hadn't actually considered it that way, because I considered that he was just white because he said he was Irish, but it's very possible.
I would hope, only because there is a moment, I think, where I don't know if he's quoting someone, but he does use the hard N word, where it's he's describing someone as a good blank, and I'm that's kind of where, if he is a white guy, I'm oh, but I'm you are a criminal, so I don't know.
That in prison we're all the N word.
Yeah, and I would
and then he sets, and then later he says he's a good one because he considers all of them that, because in prison they're all treated like that.
Right.
This takes place quite a long time ago. Even it was written quite a long time ago, but then it takes place even further back than that.
Yeah.
Which is something I always have to caveat on the show, because a lot of what we have talked about was written between the 70s and the 90s at this point. We haven't talked about kind of more recent stuff. So one, it was a different time of writing. And also he tends to write about things that happened in the past a lot as well. Yeah. So you're going even further back in terms of social norms and what was acceptable. And I think from an artistic point of view, like, I get what you're saying about giving him agency and all this stuff. In the 70s, nobody would have thought that way. Like nobody would have writing a book.
Yeah.
And if you're writing something you want to feel authentic to the time you're writing it in, you're going to use language authentic to the time you're writing it in. True. Even if you don't believe that's the best language to use in real life. Yeah. So I always have to caveat those things, because I do think he kind of sometimes, and even by me when I'm reading and I think things, he gets sometimes a little unfairly maligned for his use of derogatory language for sexes and races. But it's also like how people talk that way.
Yeah.
It's like, as somebody who writes characters great, he writes them great because they feel real to you.
Yeah.
So
and again, these are people who are imprisoned, and this guy did murder. So like there is an element of like, you're growing, but also you if this is a white character, just saying like he's a good, that word, it's like, okay, that's not great, but like also like I understand at least this person would say something like that, as opposed to someone who is maybe on the outside a little bit more cultured, a little bit more ingrained in society.
He has gotten better as society's gotten better at writing, the way he writes different races and how he gives them agency and stuff. We are just reading stuff now that he wrote in the 70s. So like, it's, you have to, it's like, it was never acceptable, but you also have to put, a realistic lens on things.
Right. I'll also say that there is this is true for the book and the movie, is that one of the kind of major themes of it is how the prison system, especially back then, it still is, but not as bad, is just prolonged slavery. And that, let me just say here that I'm a big crime person. I advocate for crime reform, or for justice reform. I also like to read up on crimes and how the criminal justice system works and stuff like that. So a lot of this I found extremely well themed in terms of the criminal justice thing, because although there are some missteps, I would say, for the most part, it was the thing about this was about how the prison system is just the extension of slavery, and that's how the current prison system started. They wanted a way to keep keep slaves, and that's how this started. That our justice system today is completely built on the fact that we wanted to deputize people to find slaves and bring them back and legally enslave them. That's how the entire justice system that we currently have is built upon. So I think that it illustrates that really well. Yeah. And I think that that's why when he used that kind of language, it felt like a commentary on the justice system more than anything racial, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
But your points are absolutely valid on that on the outside, he absolutely would not have used that kind of, especially because you have to remember, Red was in there even longer than Andy. Yeah. And Andy was in there in the book for like 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's no matter what the culture is on the outside, he only the culture for him stopped when he went to prison and has only adjusted based on however culture has changed while he's been in prison.
Yeah. And I think that's something the film does really well of illustrating too, with particularly Brooks, but we'll talk about that when we get to the film. But yeah,
because that's something that's really different for the movie. Well, actually, do you guys have any additional things to discuss about the novella before we transition into the book or into the movie?
Not really, because I think the only other things I would discuss might be some differences,
Yeah.
and obviously that can be part of the movie section. So,
All right, well let's go on over to the movie. Before we talk about the differences and everything like that, my God, what a film this is! I have seen this movie. I've seen this movie a lot. I think I sometimes forget how incredible it really is. How well it was made. Roger Deakins was the director of photography on this. Was the and I think, and this is just me. Roger Deakins is my favorite cinematographer of all time. I think he is incredible. If he is shooting a movie, I know that I'm in for it. Just a beautiful, incredible looking film. This might be one of my favorite things he's ever shot, because there are some very beautiful shots when Andy is going into the prison for the first time and he looks up at the and it pans up and just almost like it shows you how intimidating this is, this huge building that he's walking into, this place that he's going to spend in the film is 20 years. It's just incredible. But it's not just those type of things. There's shots in this that are just two of them talking that are better than most shots in most other films. I don't know. I can't I'm getting a little flustered with how much I loved the cinematography in this movie. But I will pass this on to Dylan. Dylan, tell me about how you feel about this film.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of got that Citizen Kane problem of like, oh, it's #1 on the IMDb list for like how many decades now? So like, there's obviously this like stigma of like, it is the greatest film of all time, or at least the best liked by like casual, because like it's like Sight and Sound is the critics' #1. That's Citizen Kane, but like this is like the people's #1. Shawshank, it's IMDb's #1. I think that is such a funny kind of like distinction, but it makes sense. It is very, universally appealing. And that's not to like demean like the casual, normal movie going public's opinion, but it really does feel more universal than even something like Citizen Kane, where I think people can just like enjoy it from strictly an entertainment point POV. But then, like you were saying, and appreciate the shots, appreciate the actual construction of this film as a piece of art too, especially because it's one location for the most part. It's, all these dark walls, it's a grimy prison, yet there is something very artful about it. And they do have to find those glimmers of light to give you that hope, because the overall theme is about triumph over the human spirit and get busy living, get busy dying, that whole sentiment. And kind of translating to what you said was so brilliant about the book and just the overall thesis of this piece, which is the idea of, trying to grow and show that the prison system is, flawed in so many ways, and that you can't grow if you're just treated like crap and that's all society wants to treat you. You're not going to grow. And then those who grow, when they leave, it becomes such a culture shock, because, it's such a different lifestyle. And it really just kind of empathizes with these victims in such an interesting way. These prisoners, I should say, because not all of them are victims. Obviously, a lot of them are very bad people. And that's, I think, a really cool thing about the book and the movie, is the idea that some are innocent, some are guilty. And our main character, as far as we know, is maybe not guilty, but maybe guilty. We don't really know. We really, truly do not know. And I think that's a really beautiful part of it, is that you have this ambiguity of this moral center of your main character. In Red, in the book, you get a more concise picture of what he actually did, and he's admitting to it. So it's a little harder, but I think that's really what fuels this, is the kind of what Stacey was talking about, the character work. I think it's even heightened in this. I think you get even more, especially from the side characters, not just Andy, but especially Red, as a narrator. He has his own journey that you can take Andy out of, and he still has a very complete arc. It's obviously fueled by Andy, and Andy's a lot of the motivator, but it is his own journey, his own story. You get so much more with all the side characters. You get more with the guards and the warden. Like, I just feel like everything just amps up a notch, just because you have more time to tell a story, and you don't need to keep it confined to a certain amount of pages. And I don't know if Stephen King meant to keep it short because he
probably not,
or wanted to, or if it just happened to be that way. But I think they just take everything in the book and just really expand it nothing feels like it's unnecessarily added. It only feels like it enriches what was already there on the page without taking away from what was on the page, which I think is the most important thing when adapting a book, is making sure you're staying true to the original if the original is great, but also trying to find ways to expand upon it to make it fresh and make it new and justify it being its own thing. I think that's what we get hung up in with like remakes so much, is the idea of like, okay, great, you remade it with this technology, but like what else do you have to say that isn't there, that isn't better in the original? I think this is a great example of something that is great in its original form, but is excelled and made better just by filling in so many of the blanks that aren't there because they didn't need to be there, but because they're there, add so much more context to overall themes, overall story, overall spirit, overall triumph of it. So it's great. I think it's one of those films I'm always waiting to be like, you know what, maybe it's not like the number one, and it's not my number one. It's probably not my number one of that year. I would still put Lion King and Pulp Fiction on a higher pedestal than this one, just because that's what I like better. But that's not to take away the fact that this is kind of a perfect movie if you look at it. You know, there's very few holes to poke. Maybe the absence of female characters, but again, that's just what Stacey was also talking about, the time and the circumstance. You really can't have many female characters in this film. It's not going to pass the Bechdel test, but I think a film like this can't really, unless you want to add a third act or something that, you know, just doesn't really
like
necessarily
a prison nurse that
and that's like, the thing is, and then you make it about something entirely different. You know? And I think there is something. And there's something cool to be said about the Rita Hayworth of it all, of being like, oh, you know, you're not using this because you're a horny guy alone in a jail cell. This is something else. But because it's the title of the book, there's something about it that's more special than the rest. It's not just a throwaway detail, which I actually kind of like that they shortened it for the movie and didn't add that, because having it be the title of the novella, you know that it has a little bit more importance than just something for him to beat off to, you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas if you don't have it in the title, like, you don't even realize how significant this thing is. And I think that's a really cool change. It's the title. The gives a real emphasis that Rita Hayworth and doesn't, you know? So just to bring it full circle back. But it's brilliant. And acting across the board is sublime. And I think that's also what sells it too, is Morgan Freeman gives a voice to Red that, whether he's white, whether he's black in this novella, what you may think of him, the lack of character he's given, or maybe you do see a lot of character. I think Morgan Freeman just adds even more to that just by his narration. I don't like narration in movies. I like it here. You know, I think that's a testament. So, yeah. Sorry I talked so long. I love it.
It's long. It's fine.
I completely agree with you in terms of the characters. The novella does a great job of fleshing out the characters in the way that works best for the novella. And I think time spent on other characters would have been a disservice to what he was trying to do with that. So, but that's one thing that I love about the movie, is that you get this time with all of these characters, and it really just enriches the everything and enhances it across the board. Morgan Freeman obviously is incredible in this. I will say that one of the best changes, one of the things that that improved this movie from what it could have, I would say one of the changes that was absolutely necessary and would have made it a worse movie if they had been more faithful, is compiling all of the wardens into one.
Yeah, I thought that too. I knew that's where you were going to go, because it was so on point.
All of making just one warden, and Bob Gunton is so freaking good in that role. I think that is absolutely the best change that they could have made. And we talked a lot on this show about what makes a good adaptation, what makes a bad adaptation. A good adaptation isn't necessarily sticking to the story, but making the changes that you need to make to tell the story in a different format. And this is absolutely one of them. If we had gone through a bunch of different wardens, it would not have had the same impact in the film as it did in the novella. In the novella, it kind of goes to show this almost just like him banging his head against the wall. He can't get any further because it is a roadblock, all of these wardens going through, and it serves to show the times changing and all of that.
Yeah.
Here, absolutely crucial that it's just this one guy and he is the bad guy. And it's perfect change. Sam Gutton or Bob Gutton is so good. Sam is the name of his character. So I will let someone else speak for a moment.
I have a couple things that I would like to say. First off, now I forgot what one of them was. It was a response to something Dylan said, but maybe that'll come to me. We'll see. It usually does eventually. What I wanted to talk about before that happened, I want to talk about Frank Darabont, because Frank Darabont, on my you're allowed to adapt whatever you want from Stephen King directors / screenwriters, there's Flanagan and there's Darabont. They're almost even. The only reason Flanagan is higher is because he's done a couple of things that I thought were impossible. But Darabont does this. He did The Mist. He did Green Mile. In The Mist, he famously changes the ending to one Stephen King thinks is better. The Mist will be a first read for me when we get there, so I don't know. But
I've read this. That'll be a first too.
He makes additions and changes, and he does do, at least I know for this he did, the screenwriting for the adaptation. I'm pretty sure he did for the others as well. And he's just so good at finding the right ways to translate a great piece of writing into a great movie, whether it's adding things or changing some things or, just highlighting other things. He's just so good at it. And it's so incredible that the after effects are just great. I don't know if you've seen all of those movies, but all of them are very good movies. This is probably the best, but the other two are excellent as well. And as far as the movie itself goes, look, there's two things I really like, and I like hope in a movie. I'm usually it's weird because I have one side of me that's very much wants an unhappy ending and the killer to win it all, but there's the other side of me that's just gonna cry if somebody gets recognition for something. That likes hope. And so I love the hope, and the other thing I really love is a good bromance. And let's face it, Red and Andy are a great bromance. So it works on a lot of cylinders for me. I remembered what I was going to say. See, I knew it would come back eventually. I am a girl power kind of girl. I didn't even think about the lack of women because it was so natural for the setting and so natural for the story that until you just said it, I was like, oh yeah, there aren't any women really, except for when he gets out and there's extras. But I didn't even really think about it because it just didn't seem like there would be women. So just to play up that point, not everything has to, pass the Bechdel test just because diversity is good and all, but some stories are about certain people.
Yeah, and it's telling that you connected with it, even because a lot of the argument is it doesn't have a female perspective. I can't latch onto it. And this one, I think I can't speak for it, but I'm sure you can. But I think you can latch onto it no matter who you are, and I think that's a testament to be said about how well the characters are written, how universal it feels, even though really it is a very specific perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Frank Darabont, I agree with you. He is one of those. He can adapt anything. Stephen King forever. People. I will say I was looking into the making of this movie, and one thing I thought was pretty cool. And for anybody who doesn't know out there, Stephen King, once he started to get some recognition, started doing this thing called Dollar Baby, which is that a film student or an aspiring filmmaker could get the rights to any of his short stories for $1. So basically I think it ended a few years ago, so he doesn't do that.
I was about to say, I'm let me get on eBay and
right, no kidding.
Right.
But so basically, you go to him because he retains the rights to all of his stuff. So he says, "Hey, he says, any of my short stories, if an aspiring filmmaker, somebody who's up and coming, who needs needs something to work on, wants to do this, $1, you can option any of my short stories. I don't think it covers novellas, so this wouldn't have been eligible. But Frank Darabont actually did the Dollar Baby for one of the stories from Night Shift. And then once he kind of got himself established just a little bit, he sent Stephen King $5,000 for the rights to Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, or not the Shawshank Redemption, and held on to that for something like 5 years. But Stephen King never cashed that check because he didn't understand why someone would even want the rights to that. He's like, it's just someone telling a story. And then Frank Darabont took it to Castle Rock and was like, I want to make this. He wrote the script and everybody loved it. Rob Reiner was like, hey, I'll give you this much money to let me direct it instead. And which would have probably been another great movie, because we've already talked about 2 great adaptations that he's done of Stephen King stuff. But he wanted to put Tom Cruise as Andy and Harrison Ford as Red, who now Tom Cruise would have been bad. I think Harrison Ford would have been fine, would have been great as Red. But I'm not a Tom Cruise fan. But Frank Darabont was like, no, I want to do this. And so he held out until they let him do the movie, and then this is the movie that he ended up doing. Stephen King never cashed it. He framed it and never cashed that check, framed it, and gave it back to Frank Darabont. Which I think is pretty cool.
Wow. Story.
But yeah, so I agree. He's a really great filmmaker. He's a really great Stephen King, I'm not the biggest fan of The Mist, and I actually do prefer the ending in the novella because it is more hopeful. But I think that the ending which we'll talk about The Mist at some point, because there's an adaptation.
Yeah, it's an adaptation. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with what Frank Darabont did in the thing. And I think we would not be talking about The Mist as much as we do if he hadn't made that choice.
No. And it appeals to that other side of me that I talked about that usually wants the not so happy ending, wants the unexpected to happen. It's a little nihilistic. It appeals to that part of me. Now, as I said, I haven't read The Mist, so I don't have the comparison to go by. I just know Stephen King thought it was a better ending, famously. Supposedly, I should say that could be a rumor. I don't know if it was ever actually substantiated. But Stephen King is kind of hard to adapt. I mean, at least it seems like it by other really bad adaptations out there of really good books. Yeah. So, I think it takes a special skill to really translate that well. Yeah. I did also was thinking when you were talking, Matt, and I didn't think this at all while watching the movie. Again, that just shows how immersive the movie is and how it really, anything out of place would be so out of place because it's so much, everything fits. By this time, Stephen King was doing cameos in pretty much everything based on his work. I think he did in Misery, actually, as a store clerk. I don't always look at the screen the whole time, especially in movies that are a lot of conversation, but I don't think he cameoed in this. Did he? No. Okay. Unless he was in the background as a guard that they didn't really ever show or something.
Yeah, I didn't ever see him.
But I think that's telling of the quality of the movie and the quality of what the potential of the movie based on the screenplay and everything, that he didn't be like, this is my cameo part or something, He kept it pure. So, yeah.
I'd also like to talk about Clancy Brown and how he seems in real life like one of the nicest people in the world. but how consistently he plays just the worst people and how well he does it.
Yeah.
And in this, he does. It's barely even a character. It's a it's hate with a baton that he plays, and he does it really, really well.
Yeah.
But I really love him in this. Who else? William Sadler, who plays Haywood. He's also one of the actors. He's actually, I want to say he's in other Stephen King stuff too. There's actually a few people. Well, because Darabont likes to use a lot of the same people. Yeah. So
this is Flanagan. Maybe that's part of making good Stephen King adaptations.
Yeah, Sadler's in Green Mile and The Mist and Salem's Lot. Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
The new Salem's Lot. I don't know if the new one.
And one change, and I think Dylan had alluded to this earlier, or maybe one of you did, that I want to talk about is the change with Brooks. How they, because in the novella he doesn't adjust well, but ends up dying in a nursing home.
It's like a paragraph too, right? It's like a paragraph.
Yeah, they don't, because they took they took Red's experiences that he was telling us about when he got paroled, and they made it a letter that Brooks sent instead of, because Red isn't telling the story quite like he is in the book, even though he's kind of narrating. So yeah, I noticed that right away. I was like, because I watched with my boyfriend, and I'm like, oh, this is not what happened. I'm like, no, this is what happened to Red when he gets paroled.
Right.
So,
but I think that I think that change is also one that's really, really well done. Because number one, you don't really get to know Brooks at all, except for the, like you said, the paragraph he talks about him in the thing. But you get to know him really well before he leaves prison, and then when he does, and I don't know. I just think that change was one that I really, really appreciated, because it gave us another layer of character stuff, and the Brooks character stuff also improved other characters' stories as well. The whole library thing, which does exist on some level in the novella, is expanded because of the relationship that he had with Brooks, and really all of it. I think thematically that was perfect. That was a perfect change that they had made for the film.
Because it also changes a lot of the thematic stuff too, of like, okay, yeah, so this whole thing is focusing on how bad prison systems are and how they need to be reformed so people can change and grow and be better people going into the real world. But they don't really expand upon the fact that, like, even though they're terrible, sometimes if you're there for so long, there's also the detriment of, like, you serve a long enough sentence, like, you don't know how to readjust to the real world. It's kind of like, on a smaller scale, the way people talk about kids these days who went through COVID on, like, iPads and, like, iPad kids, and their inability to have, like, real social interactions, and how everything's more digital, everything's on screens, everything's very social media based. And, like, when you have an actual conversation, they can't make eye contact. They can't really form full sentences because they can't edit their text because they had a lot of their growing up done on a screen, on an iPad. And I think that's, like, a cool kind of comparison to this, where it's like, you've skipped so much time. It's like you're time traveling, essentially. You just don't know. It's overwhelming. And it also fuels Red's motivation too, because he's like, I've been here so long. Do I even want to get out? Because it's like, this is what it is. But he's like, no, I have to get out. And it kind of becomes that question of, like, get busy living or get busy dying. Like, it really is kind of that crux, which makes it more morally complex too, because, like, in your situation, like, in your perspective, you can think to yourself, like, if I'm in that situation, like, you know, I'd want to get out, but at what point does it become scary to get out? And it's always worth it to be out than back in there, you know, but that's who your family now is. You know, it's very interesting. It's very morally complex.
I think that Red does a good job of explaining how institutionalism occurs and the effects of it in the book. I think the movie does a good job of showing that through Brooks. I actually was talking about it, and I said, this is like if you took a kid who never was, like, super overbearing parents that did everything at a strict bedtime, strict meal times. So it was never given options, just like, and those parents died. And then they were like, kid, you're on your own, like, out into the world. Like, that's what it's like. And I'm like, I don't know that I'd want to leave. Like, I get that you want to leave, but at a certain point, I'd be like, when do I eat? when do I go to bed? When do I go to the bathroom? Like,
you want the structure. Yeah,
everything is so structured and controlled. Like, they don't make any real decisions ever. And like, you know, they get the skill of laundry and auto repair, but like that's it. So I completely get it and think it is a big problem. I mean, obviously this is an older look at prison systems and things are hopefully a little better now, but not better enough to not make it a problem.
That's the thing, is that it's the prison set, like the whole, one of the biggest problems with our prison system is that they are not built to reform people. They are built to punish people, and because the prison system is a for-profit industry, they make more money if someone reoffends and comes back.
Yeah.
So it's a similar thing, is that's one of the reasons that so many people reoffend to go back, because once you're in there long enough, you no longer know how to adjust to the outside. You can't, you're not, and your status is completely different. And that's part of the problem today too, is that there are so many restrictions put on felons once they get out, and there's the stigma that comes with it that, you know, they're sentenced to a certain amount of time, but they are being punished for much longer than they are in prison. And so it's the same thing, is that sometimes they reoffend because there is a status that they had there that they need to go back. It's still happening today. Luckily, we are in an age where that kind of information can be more easily passed from person to person. So we are aware of it, and hopefully over time we can affect change in those situations. We also unfortunately live in a very polarized time where it gets very difficult to do anything. So
there is go ahead, Dylan, if you have some stuff you want to say.
No, I was just going to ask how you feel about the warden's final moments in the film, because in the book he really doesn't have any like final.
No, he retires.
Right. Do you like this change to give him that dramatic finale, or do you think it kind of makes it feel a little bit more like not cinematic, but yeah?
I like that he has a conclusion to his story and situation, but I think as the very, very religious man he is, suicide feels disingenuous.
Yeah.
But as a very, very disingenuous man, that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
I think I like that ending. I like the way he ends. It feels I don't want to say better. It feels
it feels earned.
Yes, it does. It feels earned. He earned that. There feels like there's a little bit of justice in a movie kind of devoid of a lot of justice.
Especially because he shoots the kid who gets supposedly, like they assume, transferred, the one that knows about, you know, the guy who supposedly really committed the crime of killing Andy's wife and the golf pro. So after he shoots him, then he deserves it.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting change, and I think it does pack a bigger punch for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree. That's actually another change that they made that you just mentioned, is that in the book, I forget his name.
Thomas something?
Tommy.
Yeah. I keep
Tommy Williams, maybe? I don't know.
Yes, I think that's right. I always forget his name because I weirdly know that actor's name is Gil Bellows because he was on Ally McBeal. And so for some reason I only recognize him by his real name every time I watch it. But yes, the change there is that he was transferred. And that's how they stopped that. But in this one, which again, I think this adds to the to making the warden a villain and making it just the one guy. I think that adds to it. I think it's absolutely brilliant the way that they did that, and heartbreaking. Like you go through all of the like getting him his GED and his friendship. You know that he kind of becomes really important to Andy, and it becomes important to Andy before Andy realizes that he is kind of his ticket, like he's the thing that could get him out of prison. he becomes that thing, and then just have it abruptly in it. If he this is the thing. This is the reason I like that a little bit more. If he had just been transferred, there still would have been hope there for Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Killing him means that there ends the hope of that happening, and that's what triggers him. That's what sets in motion. He's like, I have to do it now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that.
I think it goes back to the show not tell of it all too, because in the book he does still have hope. He talks about getting a lawyer, and he keeps harping on the warden, and he goes into the hole for the month or whatever, and he comes out and he's like, well, I've thought about it, and I'm not going to tell on you, and like, so it gets drawn out kind of a lot more, whereas we get everything we need to get, but now very succinctly wrapped up in the circumstances. So I do think it works very well for the movie.
Absolutely. I have notes here. Yes, it's Tommy Williams. I just remembered that I have a note here that says
I
his name.
just figured that I remember Tommy, and Stephen King is always works in Red Sox stuff. So Tommy Williams, Ted Williams, it sounded right to me.
Okay,
that makes it. Yeah, when you read a lot of
you guys aren't Red Sox people. I forget sometimes. I'm in Massachusetts.
Yeah, I'm about as opposite of a Red Sox person as you can.
I wasn't going to go into that, but I'm just saying. So, like the Ted Williams, Tommy Williams, probably wouldn't have been noticed by you guys.
Yeah. I will say that there's a interesting thing, and this is interesting, probably only to me. I have a friend. Well, actually, he unfriended me recently on Facebook, so maybe I don't have a friend anymore, but I had a friend for a long time who his dad, who is now a preacher, was an inmate at Mansfield Correctional Facility, which is where Shawshank Redemption was filmed.
Wow.
In
Ohio.
Yeah, in Ohio, yeah.
Mansfield, there's a Mansfield in Massachusetts as well. So I immediately thought that because Stephen King being New England, and I don't know if they have a correctional institution in Mansfield, but it's possible. So, so you're like, it's filmed. I was like, no, it wasn't.
Yeah. So the that I've always thought was really interesting. Also, Mansfield Correctional Facility is supposedly haunted. So so there's that as well. But that's really it. Though again, those things are probably interesting to me alone. Before we move on to number one fans, do you guys have any other thoughts about the movie?
I had a couple.
Oh,
and these are just tiny nitpicks because I'm me, and if I notice a tiny nitpick, I have to point it out.
Of course.
There were two parts in the movie that were slightly different than the book. Well, one was pretty different, but it needed to be, and I'm fine with it. But and they just were so convenient in the book and the movie in a way that like, okay, if this wasn't such a great movie, like, come on, the convenience of this is kind of nuts. The first is when he finds the rock, because in the book, the rock is like, at least to how I took the description, very prominently like on the wall when Red goes to find the rock with the stuff. In the movie, he seems to just choose the right part of the wall to start digging at the rocks in and like finds it. And I'm just like, sure. We don't even see him digging in other parts just a tiny bit and then getting to the right one. It's just like beeline to that right section of the wall with the right rock buried in there, which I was like, okay, yeah, but worst movie. This I'm definitely getting like razzied for the inconvenience factor of this moment. And then granted, I think that the movie needs this ending. I don't think we could end the movie the same way we end the book. Because in the book, he's in the hotel room writing and is like, I hope Andy's where he said he's going to be. Like, I hope it all works out. But, like, how long did he walk on that beach before he stumbled across him standing about? Right. Like, how big is that beach? Like, I just was like, if he had the hotel he described wanting in the book, okay, then Red has a direct place to go look for him. He has this hotel with the cabanas and the fishing charter that he described wanting, but he finds him on the beach randomly, like very convenient.
Maybe it's all in his head, and that's his fantasy of what he's envisioning his reunion will be. I don't know.
that wasn't communicated well if that was what it was
no,
supposed to
it
be.
seems very overt that that's actually what happened. And I agree. It's like, oh, what are the odds you stumbled upon?
I mean, I definitely, the only thing, like, I like that we see them reunite. I just think they should have had something that, like, Red was going to reunite, just not walking down a beach and stumbling across him.
Like, okay, I agree. Because there are so many, when he's heading toward that fence to find the rock, there are so many shots of him walking through various different places, and it just seems, it makes it seem like so long, like such a long journey, which is fine. He gets there and then he does it. I think we could have dispensed with all of that. They could have dropped him off, and then he could have like walked down that road for a while, and that would have been fine. What you should have replaced that with was shots of him like going to people in Mexico and being like, I'm looking for this guy. Like, we don't have to hear him saying it. It could be like a montage of him like talking to people and trying to figure out where he might be able to find this person. Like that.
It could be just as simple as he has the hotel he said he was going to have.
Right.
And then Red goes to the hotel that Andy said he was going to have. Like, that's a simple fix.
Yeah.
But so those were my little nitpicks about just some things being a little too convenient. But the movie's so good, it really doesn't matter or take away from it at all. When I notice stuff, I have to share.
I did. There's one thing about the book that I forgot to mention, and it has to do with the ending. And that is, you were talking about how, like, did he know it was going to be this short? I will say that Different Seasons was the reason it's called that is because it was an intentional attempt to write 4 novellas that were not horror. So he did intend for them to be short. I don't know that necessarily he hadn't already written them and then they were short and then he was like, okay, here we go. But whatever. But the ending of it feels so weird when he gets to the end of the thing he's writing and then is like, oh wait, actually it's fine. They're letting me go. Because he gets to the end of his whole story and it's like, well, I guess I'm in prison. And he even says early in the novella, they're never going to give me, like, I am the person who's never going to get parole. And then at the end, it's just like, they paroled me. And we don't really get because the movie does this really well by having him go back constantly and showing him trying for parole and then not getting it. That doesn't happen because you get one description of him or one part where he says, I'm never going to be paroled because I killed these 3 people.
I thought he said that he would be super old and useless, but like he'd be walking out on a cane and gray hair, like basically like 80. But I could be wrong.
Maybe he did mention that later, but at one point he was like, when he's describing what he did and then says, I got 3 life sentences. It's like, so not the person they're ever going to parole or something like that. And then they kind of get to the end and it's like, and suddenly he's being paroled because it picks back up right as he's like, actually, I'm being paroled. That felt very abrupt, and it did make me wonder, did Stephen King realize he needed a different ending? And so he added to it, but then you could have edited it in a way that would have made so maybe that was very intentional. But it was.
Dylan, if you don't know, Stephen King is kind of famous for bad endings. He's even aware of it. He makes jokes of it with like, he has a lot of characters that are writers, and some of them have trouble with endings.
The best reference to this is in It Chapter 2, when his writer character who's bad at endings comes into his pawn shop and or bookshop or whatever, and he's like, your endings suck. But it's Stephen King who's playing that role.
That's funny. That's fair.
He has a great sense of humor about himself. I don't think he has some that aren't great. He has some that are good, just so the ending situation, I just wanted to point that out to you.
Because this film has, the ending is perfect in my opinion for the film. Even the nitpickiness of the beach, but like, it's a great ending.
Like the ending in the book where he was, we didn't see the resolution, but he had hope, he was on his way. Like, I thought that was fine in the book too. I don't think it would have worked for the movie, but So
it really because the whole theme there is just the hope, and so I think that works really, really well.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, this is our number one fan section where we hear from you, the Stephen King fans. I went on Reddit and into the Stephen King subreddit and asked them, hey, what do you guys think about this novella and its adaptation? I also asked, how do you feel about the casting of Andy and Red, and do you prefer the novella or the movie? And these are some of the responses. I will say this is the most responses I've ever gotten from one of these. This is a very, very popular movie, so it got a lot of responses. Storm Blessed 145 said, I prefer the novella marginally. It's one of those adaptations like Stand By Me or Lord of the Rings trilogy that's so close to perfect that you can only nitpick little things. The movie is a fantastic way of sharing one of my favorite Stephen King stories, though. And then Odd Fortune 500 commented on that and said the ending doesn't hit close to as hard in the novella as it does in the movie. The movie was definitely better. So, which we just discussed the ending on that. If you guys do have any comments as I'm reading these, please interject. Spudge Boy says, I really like the novella. They did a pretty damn good job for the adaptation. I think the casting was good, especially when you realize that Morgan Freeman's character Red was not really in the novella as a big part. The movie is great. The novella is great. Maybe the novella slightly edges, but I'm a King fan after all.
I mean,
I disagree that Red was not in it. Well, of course, he is narrating it, so he's not telling his own story, really.
Maybe that's what they're getting at. Like, he's the narrator, but like you don't get a lot of what his journey is, and that's what you get in the movie. Maybe that's what they meant. Like, he's not a bigger character in the, but like he's right and wrong. Like, he is not a huge character in the book. He's the main character because he's narrating it, but he's not the focus. I don't know.
Right? No, no, it's good. That's a good point. Crazy Legs 36 says one of the few movies that 100% outshines the source material. Shawshank, top 5 movie of all time. Not great novella. That's what. Sorry, that was right. Top 5 movie all time. Good, not great novella. Jaws, classic movie. Novel is only so. Lots of side plots that are boring and unnecessary. Sideways, loved the movie, hated the book, and Pickett's writing style. Big Fish, book was good, but a series of vignettes. The movie pulled it all together. I almost added the Green Mile to this, but the cereal is so bloody good that I just couldn't, because Green Mile actually was released in novellas or whatever.
There's a bunch of separate novellas that make up the Green Mile. It's actually how I read it the first time, was in each individual.
I haven't actually read it, but I know my mom bought those individual ones because we also did the same with John Saul's Blackstone Chronicles, which I have been trying to find again because I remember those coming out month to month and us as a family like fighting over who got to read it first. But as a follow-up, Slim Gator G8R said, getting the serial month to month as it came out is a top 5 memory for me. So they're talking about Green Mile, which I'm excited for us to get to that eventually as well. Because I haven't read that, but I love that movie. Resurgent Clusterfuck said, I think it's...
These names are killing me. I love it.
Yeah. Well, and what's funny is that my username, I started at a time when you couldn't choose your own, so it just chose one for me, and you can't change them anymore. So mine is not cool at all. But I see these and I'm like, those lucky bastards who got to change their username, or maybe randomly received Resurgent Clusterfuck. I have no idea. That would be weird. Resurgent Clusterfuck says, I think it's probably one of the best book to film adaptations ever made. I'd say it was the best Stephen King book to films, but The Green Mile exists. Another Green Mile discussion. I guess they're both set in prison.
Darabont
very comparable.
Prison, and then Equivalent Stomach 5 says, and Stand By Me exists too. So they're saying that it's one of the best book to film adaptations. Stand By Me also exists. So they are adding that to the great book.
Maybe they haven't seen Dr. Sleep yet.
Maybe. Styrofoam Chrome says, great movie adaptation, I thought. feel good movies don't come much better. Thumbs up emoji. Mr. Late this okay. Laizzi. I want to pronounce that lazy, but I don't know if that's right. Mr. Lazy, or maybe Lazy.
Lazai.
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 Mr. Lazai. I saw the movie first and loved it. Read the book recently, and the recent adaptation is, or read the book recently, and since the adaptation is very true to the novella, obviously I loved it too. I would say I prefer the movie, but only because they're more convenient to relive the story that way. What highlights my opinion of the novella is that I enjoyed reading it, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen, which I agree with, and that's common from someone who hates spoilers. And that's coming from someone who hates spoilers. And what highlights my opinion about the movie / cast is that I was gladly imagining the movie cast as the characters while I was reading, when normally I'd like it to be the other way around. Read the book first and imagine everything yourself, then see the movie. Do you guys I know Stacy's opinion. You usually like to read the book before seeing a movie, right?
I do, but when I haven't, or if it's been a while, if I'm rereading a book, which was Stephen King books, I find them very easy to revisit.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's been a while since the first reading, I will end up picturing the actors from the movie. And that doesn't bother me really.
It's interesting because I've had this discussion with a lot of people. I'm friends with a lot of like readers, like readers. My wife is.
I used to be a reader.
And so like they'll always, when they find out a movie's coming out that's based on a book, they'll always like go out and get the book and read it. To me, like if I'm excited about that movie, I don't want to read the book. Like I don't want it to spoil my enjoyment of the movie at all. And the other way around, if I know a movie's coming out and I don't really care about the movie, but I've heard the book's really good, I will go read the book just to. So it kind of depends on what I care about more, like where I'm. But it's very interesting. But I will say that sometimes it does help to know. I don't know if it helps. Sometimes I enjoy having the characters already kind of formatted for me in the thing, but. If they're not right, then that can be an issue. But Anyway, Dank Drebin says, Dank Drebin. That's such a good name. It's like Frank Drebin from Police Squad and Naked Gun. Anyway, Dank Drebin says, I like the movie, but it doesn't do anything the book couldn't do. I prefer movies with unique visuals that novels can't replicate, like Natural Born Killers, Eraserhead, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was a book first, etc. That's interesting. I don't know that that's really a criticism of the movie, that it well adapts the source material. Anyway. Gotham 10K says, I need to reread, but wasn't it more ambiguous regarding if Andy did kill his wife or not in the novella? I recall the shot 8 times, so he had to reload. Maybe I am misremembering.
There was a thing about the 8 times.
Yeah.
Which was explained when Tommy was telling us about the like crazy erraticness of the guy who he had in his prison. Yeah. For me, I guess it could be ambiguous to people whether or not Andy did it. I felt as though it was pretty clear to me that he didn't, just based on on how he was described. He didn't seem like somebody who would lie about it. Like he knew he was going down regardless. And I think I believed Tommy about this guy, and it seemed pretty specific with the golf pro and the, I think he was like an offshore, like worked in a garage or something. I don't know. I don't think he was a waiter, but whatever the situation was, I definitely believed that Andy was innocent.
I will say that it's actually much more ambiguous in the movie than it is in the novella. I think both make it very clear that he is innocent. But I would say that because the movie kind of starts with a scene of him loading up his gun, and then it cuts to his trial. Like in the book, we get the explanation immediately.
Yeah,
and it's like, and you kind
of
of
get more of the trial and stuff.
While
too.
It is being narrated by a character, and so they could be flawed. I would say that if they were going to be flawed, the answer would have come in the book.
Right.
That they would have told us that they were flawed, that they were wrong at that moment.
Yeah. And I just think by nature of having a different guy narrate it, we will never actually factually truly know if it was true or not. That's the thing. That's where I'm always like, it is. I think it's much more very well alluded to and hinted at, but we won't truly know unless Andy himself said it. And even then, unreliable narrators.
Well, he did say he was innocent.
He did say he was innocent.
True, but true.
We kind of have to trust that the evidence that Tommy gave was correct.
But unless Stephen King himself was the narrator of the book, and said like Andy did it or Andy didn't, like we won't really truly know. Yeah,
that's true.
He probably has someplace.
Zornorf says he didn't. Responding to that thing, said he didn't kill her in the book. She and her lover were shot by the burglar who was working at the nearby golf course. He just had the bad luck to be the most obvious suspect. And then Gotham 10K said, thanks, it's been a while. Dev Gid said, I just finished reading the book for the first time earlier today and absolutely loved it. I remember my dad making me watch the movie as a kid growing up, but excited to rewatch it now. I'm excited that you'll get to rewatch it. I hope you come watch I hope you're watching this right now after you watch the movie. Roaming the Sewers said, that's a good name for this thing too. Roaming the Sewers said, Frank Darabont has by far delivered the best adaptations of King's work, the trifecta Shawshank, Green Mile, and The Mist. As for Shawshank, it is considered by many to be one of the best films ever made. I, for one, rewatch at least once a year. In a perfect world, Darabont would have directed It, The Stand, and Dark Tower too. I don't care for that Mike what's-his-face hack. The one who did Dr. Sleep. Listen, we appreciate your comment.
Nobody is wrong when they have opinions, because it's an opinion. And that can't be wrong.
The rest of your comment was absolutely correct.
No. An opinion cannot be incorrect. He is valid, right?
I'm with you on the rest of it, is what I'm saying.
It's not how I feel, but that's okay.
Jay Granger 221 said, I love both. I think that's because it is a novella rather than a full-length novel. Darabont had room to add rather than having to cut story elements. The movie is nearly perfect. It wouldn't exist without the outstanding story. And that is from Jeff, Jay Granger, because I do tell them in the thing, hey, if you want me to say your real name, put it at the end. And he put his name. It's Jeff.
Period.
Hi, Jeff.
Period. Hi, Jeff.
Cruel Blush said, loved them both, but the movie tightened and focused the story. Instead of multiple nameless wardens, there was one evil man and his henchmen. Instead of Tommy being transferred, he was murdered by said warden. It upped the stakes and gave greater emotional payoff when he was held accountable. And the scene at the beach, and then there's a gif of Terry Crews going.
It is good. It's just
it is good.
It's convenient.
Yeah. Scaramish 7 says, a rare case in which the movie adaptation is better than the source material. And the novella is amazing, which says a lot about the movie. The movie is an absolute masterpiece. Zornorf, which we had heard from earlier, I think they were just responding to someone, said, this is one of my favorite King stories, probably because I am a hope person. So it spoke to me. I thought the novel was just perfect. Oddly, I found myself enjoying the movie even more because of the thing the movie company insisted on, filming the scene where Red and Andy see each other on the beach. I get why King left it out. The novel is about hope, Red hoping that for these things at the end of the book. The movie goes past hope and gives us fulfillment of that hope. Whatever, I just love the rush and joy from that scene, even if it messes with the art of it all a bit. I don't think it messes with the art of it. I think it helped that the novel was short, not a lot had to be cut, and all the story was there. They did sort of just mash together Andy's stock account and the warden's drug dealing to give him the money, but I thought that was okay and a bit of a shorthand. It didn't change the story at all. The casting, Robbins as Andy was fine. Not quite how I pictured him. I saw more of a nerdy accountant type, but it worked. Freeman as Red, I never quite came around to. Oh, this King as King. I thought that was going to be a better thing. As King mentioned, Maine had about 2 black people in at the time. It just felt off. I'm also not at all convinced that a black man in jail during that time would be able to establish himself as a man who can get it for you. Freeman's acting can't be faulted, but to me, it was more one of those roles where race mattered. It didn't get in the way of my enjoying the movie, but never quite bought it, so to speak.
Can I give a little aside?
Yeah.
So for those who aren't very familiar with the Stephen King verse and don't know, in the Stephen King verse, Shawshank Prison exists outside, on the outskirts of the fictional town of Castle Rock, which is not far from the fictional town of Derry and their Juniper Hill mental hospital. So that's what he's alluding to with the whole Maine, because I don't think it ever says where it is in the book or the movie. I don't know if it says it's in Maine or if it says it's outside of Castle Rock, but Shawshank comes up in a lot of things. The prison comes up in a lot of other things, and that is where it's located.
The book mentions Maine, or not the book, the movie mentions Maine. The movie does mention that it's in Maine.
I just know the movie was filmed all in Ohio, so I couldn't remember if it ever actually mentioned Maine or what.
Yeah, the book does the movie, I don't remember if the book mentions Maine at all. The book, God, I keep saying that. The movie does mention that it's...
Because he mentions Buxton is in Maine when they're talking about...
Also, Portland is mentioned, which is funny because there's another more famous Portland in Oregon, which is where Stand By Me was weirdly moved to instead of Maine. And
I think Portland, Maine, just because I'm a New Englander. So
right. I agree I agree with some of this. I don't know that race was important in that. I think it actually helped sell some of the themes of it for him to be a black man. I will say that Andy, I didn't picture him at all. Like Red describes his actions really well, but not really much of his like personality. I thought Tim Robbins brought life to Andy that maybe wasn't in the novella. So I really dig that. See, Few Surprises 1019 said the movie is actually better than a novella. It was more believable, and several posters were used to cover that hole instead of just one poster, which is not correct because in the book there's also several posters. In real life, the poster would have been worn through and ripped, and all would have gone behind it. I think this person just doesn't remember that there was also multiple posters in the novella. Dr. Blank Slate said the book is still better because the book is always better. But if I had to pick a King adaptation that was faithful to the source material, Shawshank would be right up there. And there aren't many that I feel that faithful. Don't ask me if I prefer one or the other. I don't do rank order. Okay. And then just 2 comments from the Discord. First one is from Chad, who said Shawshank Redemption. And Chad is your picture this co-host. Said Shawshank Redemption won our very first episode of Picture This.
Yes, it did.
Highest rated movie on IMDb, and it's really just perfect. I don't know if I ever read the novella in full, but the movie really captures the spirit of hope. When all seemed lost, you're dealt a bad hand of cards. You've got to get busy living or get busy dying. I think this is the perfect movie to define the time we're in now, to inspire action of self-preservation. Not to mention that it's just a beautifully made film and one of the best scores and best narrators in Morgan Freeman. I think there is one film we send to aliens to show the human spirit. It is this one. And then Carly, our friend Carly, said, I don't have much to say about Shawshank just because it's such a damn good movie that I haven't watched it. It's another Stephen King adaptation that I often forget is written by Stephen King. It's a novella. I'm very curious to see how much of the movie is from the novella and not whether King is involved in any changes. My favorite thing about Shawshank is the film never says all the prisoners are innocent, but it still shows that they should be treated with dignity and shows how they are good people. And what it says about life after prison for those released is incredibly relevant.
Yeah.
I don't know that I think this movie is perfect or one of the best ever, but it's a damn good movie.
Yeah.
A lot of important points to make. All right, so that is all of the number one fans. Let's move on real quick. Do you have time? I don't know.
Yeah, 2 minutes. I'm good.
2 minutes. Okay. Then let's move on to the
your rankings.
Yeah, the tier rankings. We're gonna start with the novella. For everybody who is if you're new to this, the our sorry, 1 second. Okay, there we go. Our tier rankings. Oop, there we go. Our tier rankings are: It Shines, Aims with the Eye, Shoots with the Mind, Kills with the Heart, Guardian of the Beam, Cully, Devil's Grass, Everything's Ruined, and Forgotten the Face of Its Father. And it's the typical S, A, B, C, D, D.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you guys think that the novella goes in this? Does anybody have any opening arguments here? I think
I have no context to put it with other things, but I think like just given how much I like the movie more, just because it just expands on so much and the novella can only tell so much, I would probably put it in the C area, but I don't know. I that's where I'm thinking, but I have no context of the other books.
Oh, that's fine. It's just tier based on its own merit. Stacey, do you have an opinion there?
As always, I'm very torn. I think it would be probably a little higher just because like I said in the very beginning, just think it's so impressive what King does in 100 pages. Yeah. And the movie's not great. Well, I guess the movie could be great without the source material being great, but the movie couldn't be so close to the source material and be great if the source material wasn't great. Mm-hmm. So I'd probably put it in at least B.
I think I agree. I think I was between A and B, and I think that since
I was kind of between A and B as well, but
Dylan,
I was between B and C, so let's put in B.
No, let's do B. Oh no, hold on. I'm going to do it from this screen. There we go. There we go. Yay. All right, we got that B, and then the last one here, we are going to do the movie itself. Sorry,
Phil, where would you rank the movie? Same ratings.
I mean, for me, it's like the top tier for me. Like of King adaptations, it's one of the best. Like, I think it's got to be either S tier, I get It Shines tier, or A.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hold on, what is happening right now? Okay, well, we're not going to be able to see it because for some reason it's not sharing the screen. I don't understand. But
fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it
next time.
But I agree. This is S tier if I've ever seen an S tier. For me, it absolutely is. There's no question. Stacey, do you have an argument against that, or?
No, I'm stingy with my S tiers, as people know if they've been watching. But I think this is one of the easiest rankings that I've had so far in terms of it belongs in S tier.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not even one of the best Stephen King adaptations. It's one of the best movies ever. It's just the way it is. Our next episode is going to be Apt Pupil. Which we are going to cover that and the other story, which I've forgotten, which does not have adaptation from different season. What's that? You'll look at it right now. So we're going to cover that. So I also will tell people that in the future, we are going to be covering Dead Zone here in the next several months, and which it does have a movie and 6 seasons. 6 seasons and a movie! So I'm telling you this now. So if you want to prepare,
get watching.
Get watching. I have been. I read the book, and I've been watching the show, and hopefully I'll be done with that in time. But it's taking longer than I thought. But Dylan, can you tell us where they can find you?
Yes. First off, thank you so much for having me here. I know we're at a bit of a time crunch now, so I got to bounce, but I love you all so much. This was awesome, just talking about books and film and with each other. I kind of want to read now more books when I watch more films, just because I think it makes for such an interesting perspective. And you guys are so knowledgeable, and I can't wait to hear all your discussions on more books and movies. And I want to watch more things. I haven't seen Misery, I haven't seen Stand By Me, and you guys are inspiring me to do that. So
wow.
yeah, I'm so overjoyed to be here. But yeah, find me at the Dill Pickle Movie Network. Matt and I do a show called Frame Wreck there, which is returning in May, which is so exciting. And then we have a fun summer plan for you, which we will announce later. I'll be popping in Matt's channel here and there as well. We've got a few other things planned on my channel, hopefully, that I can film before I leave on my next contract. But even then, on my next contract, I have some videos up at the wazoo ready for you. So thank you guys so much. I know you have a few more things to announce, so I'll probably bounce. But I love you all both dearly, and thank you for this. This is so fun.
Thank you so much for coming.
About this. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yes, we love you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Dylan.
All right. So we do have one more thing to announce, and I'm going to pass it over to Stacy to announce.
So I have found on eBay, just to give you a little background, a seller who will sell you a random box of 8 Stephen King books. You don't know what Stephen King books you're going to get. It's hardcovers, and it works out to just under $8 a book, I believe, or something a book. And I am a big lover of mystery boxes in general, and a big lover of collecting Stephen King hardcovers because I'm blind and can't read little trade paperbacks. And so I've been maybe overdoing it a little bit in getting these boxes, but because they're random, I've gotten duplicates of books, and I thought the best thing to do with them would be to give them away to you guys. So periodically, we will be having book giveaways. Most of them have adaptations so far, not all of them. So those ones will get worked in where they fit. And to get entered to receive the book, you just have to comment on this video, the pupil video, or after that, I think we'll be doing The Shining. So you can also comment on that video. If you comment, you get entered. And then when we do the Dr. Sleep episode, you will get your very own copy of Dr. Sleep mailed to you by me. These books are not always brand new. They're in good, used, to new condition. Most of the ones have looked really good that I've received, but just I don't want you to think I'm giving out brand new books when I can't say that they are. Like this one has a sticker. Oh, no, my other copy of Dr. Sleep had a sticker on the back, sorry. But so you see, I have duplicates, and some of them have like store stickers. I have some that have like the library cover thing on them, but they're all in very good readable condition. This is a very good example of one. It pretty much looks new, except for a little bending here and there. So yes, if you would like to win this book, if you'd like me to mail it to you, please comment on this or any of our next few videos, and then we will draw somebody and announce it, and you can DM us your address and receive this in the mail.
Every comment is an entry into the drawing for this. So that means if you leave multiple comments, it's multiple entries. However, if you spam to try to get multiple entries, you will not be eligible. We will delete your comments and you will not be eligible. So if you do one letter, one letter of each for each comment,
you have to be nice, but you have to say something.
Spammers will be disqualified and their comments will be
and if you know people who you think might like this book, tell them to check out the show and leave a comment,
or you could win it for them. Everybody leave comments, and then at the end we will do a drawing, and that person is going to win the copy of Dr. Sleep. But that does it for us here on Screen King today. Once again, my name is Matt.
My name is Stacy.
Long days and pleasant nights.
And may you have twice the number.